UFC 248 had a great co-main event, but the main event, for a lot of fans, mostly casuals, it was a little lackluster. But I wanted to talk about the reason why that fight didn't go the way a lot of casuals thought it would. You know, and you have to start off with the build-up. Here you have the champion, Isreal Adesanya, elite kickboxer. He has competed with the very best in the world at his weight division at, I think, is about the same weight, 185, that he fights at the UFC. Who has been known as a striker in the UFC and an undefeated fighter, that he's constantly shown improvements in his grappling. So you know that he he keeps trying to learn and grow as a martial artist, not just be a one-trick pony. Uh, Known as a sniper, which he is, in fact, is a sniper. Um, if nobody knew that, all they had to look at was the Derek Brunson fight. That knee, as Brunson was coming in for the shot, you know, so is his perfect placement and everything. And then you've got Yoel Romero, the boogeyman at middleweight. Maybe not so much now because of that fight with Paulo Costa. But his athletic ability, the speed, the explosiveness, the power that he has scares a lot of fighters, especially because of how he starts fights. He likes to he likes to start the fight at a slower pace, little lackadaisical, create a false sense of security in his opponents that will get used to that pace, and then all of a sudden, boom, he explodes with the a left hand flying knee, or even a shot. Although he doesn't wrestle as much anymore, I don't know for sure why. Um, I saw Mind Smash's video on his neck. I didn't know it was that severe until watching that video. Apart from that, I can see that the energy expenditure from constantly wrestling is probably also a factor. But when you're that explosive, and when you have guys worried about a potential takedown, a knee, you know, the striking, it becomes easier to use striking. That's why you see, like in 229 in the second round, because in the second round of Conor and Khabib, you know, in the first round, Conor had to deal with the wrestling of Khabib, and in the second round, he's expecting a shot, he's expecting wrestling and all that, and then he level changes, and Conor prepares for a takedown, and for him to be off balance so he can throw that left hand. Then all of a sudden, overhand right out of nowhere drops Conor. It's like afraid of when you get a striker thinking of your wrestling, they forget about uh, getting hit with a punch or kick, whatever. Um, so with a lot of Yoel's opponents, they've been you know, they're initially worried about the wrestling, and as they've as more fight as he's gotten more fights, they not only have to be afraid of the wrestling, they have to be afraid of the explosion, because the fight can change in a blink of an eye with someone like Yoel, and Yoel has proven that. He has proven that time and time again. Even the fight he lost with Costa, he did catch Costa, I think in the first round, and staggered him a little bit after he got caught. So he's always dangerous in a fight. So Isreal not having a granite chin like Costa, so he couldn't just go go at him, walk him down, and just throw leather. No, because Romero, everybody knew coming into that fight that Romero had the power to knock Isreal out at a moment's notice. Not very many analysts, I mean, there was there's a possibility that he could hurt Yoel going into the fight, that is, but no one really saw if the only way anyone saw, me included, seeing Israel winning was unanimous decision, outlanding Yoel, you know, and that's what Israel had seen going into that fight. He had seen his game plan was exploiting the pace that Yoel likes to set, that slower pace, and putting pressure like phantom pressure, so he's not walking him down where he's open for the left hand, the left knee, whatever strike from Yoel, spinning back fist. Yoel will throw anything. He's opportunistic like a bear. So, but the kind of pressure like you see Connor put put on guys when he was coming up in the UFC, where or like in the fight with Eddie Alvarez, like he's he wanted Yoel's back against the cage, and at the same time keeping his range, whether it's with his lead hand or with kicks, attacking the body. He definitely wanted to attack the body of Yoel, because it doesn't matter what kind of chin you have. If you The more tired you get, the less durable you're going to be in a fight. The less damage you're going to be able to take on that chin as you get hit. So he definitely, what he saw was, what I expected him to come in with, was this phantom pressure, creating this dead space, as well as using his fakes, what he's known for, giving Yoel different looks with different weapons, making Yoel shell up, and finding the chinks in the armor, whether it was shots to the body, shots around the guard, splitting the guard. So that's the game plan Izzy wanted to employ, or at least, that's what I expected them to employ. But the if factor in that fight for me, especially as I was watching them get into the octagon, was what was Yoel's game plan going to be? That was going to be the F factor. That was going to let me know just uh how much fight IQ Yoel has. And from the start of the fight, you can see that Yoel wanted Yoel also wanted to freeze Izzy, which if you've seen in former fights, whether it's in kickboxing, I can't remember the dude he fought, but it was in kickboxing, Israel fought somebody who was putting a lot of pressure on Izzy, and because of the gloves that you wear in kickboxing, the high guard is a is pretty good defense in kickboxing because shots are just gonna bounce off of the gloves, off of the arms, any shot that comes to the head. So he put the pressure. He put relentless pressure on Izzy. He was always in front of him with his high guard, and he was landing leg kicks here and there. It's been a while since I've seen that fight, but you can also go back to Israel's fight with Marvin Vittori. I believe I said his name right. If I didn't, sorry. But Marvin Vittori came in with that similar game plan of putting pressure on Israel. And if any of you ever seen the post fight talk after that fight, Israel talked about thinking too much and not being in flow, and not just letting it come out of him. So you didn't get the best Israel Adesanya on that night. So if you can in the fight with Yoel wanted to make Israel think. If you make Israel think, he's not going to be at peak performance. So he did things uncharacteristic of himself. Yoel did. Like at the start of the fight, he walked a couple of steps and then just stopped, watching him, and turned, and whenever Israel would move, he would face him. So that from that moment on, pretty much throughout the whole fight, he was making Israel think more. And pretty much he was like trying to establish the same base game plan as Israel generally does to people. Whereas, Israel, he makes people think and freeze with fakes, and Yoel ultimately did the same thing. Like the level changes that he used in that fight, the punching of the leg, he always made Israel wary of the takedown and think of the takedown at the same time, showing his own left hand, overhand left. Or like later in the rounds, I think it might have been round 5. I can't fully remember, but you'd see Yoel just jump straight up. He would jump straight up and then dash at Israel, just to step forward to make Israel move and react. So he's making him think about his explosiveness as well, making him think about the flying knee, making him think about the shot. So they both turned the fight into a chess match, and Israel had the biggest risk in the whole fight, because he can either get taken down and held down, which didn't happen. Credit to Israel, his takedown defense has definitely improved, and his ability to get back on his feet as well. Even though, the first shot did take Israel down, Israel was able to get back on his feet, and the second one was easily sprawled. So you can't say that this guy is a one trick pony. He's improving as a complete fighter. And and even though he wasn't just even the fact that he wasn't just it wasn't just coming out of him like a artist with a paintbrush and an empty canvas. His takedown defense was still pretty damn good. Um, Ultimately, they both came in with some pretty good game plans against each other. As far as improvements, especially in that last round, Yoel should have been more aggressive than he was. You can tell from the whole fight he was looking to counter Israel with every time Israel came in, he was looking to counter Israel, left hand, whatever. Um, and Israel realized in that first round, the first left hand he got touched with, that his safest bet was to stick with his longest range weapon, which was his kicks. You know, he had to establish range with his kicks first. And then even throughout the fight, you were if you paid attention, Israel was starting to find a home for some of his shots if they were straight. Like I think it was the end of round 3. Yoel was coming forward, and Israel split his guard with the left straight and started moving off to his right. An unanswered shot by Israel to Yoel. If the fight were to have, you know, I don't really like to talk in what ifs, but let's say if there was like 5 more rounds to the fight, you would see Israel start to come on. It would have been a decisive victory in all fans' eyes for Israel. But it definitely, to me, I don't think there was a robbery of any kind, and I don't think either fighter had a reason to argue the decision. Um, the the most significant strike of the fight, in my opinion, was the leg kicks of Israel because they were adding up and they were being unanswered. A couple of times they were being answered, but Yoel wasn't landing clean on Israel. Like he was able to get out. He was able to get out of, or he was able to roll with shots or duck down and just catch a little bit of the power on those punches on those left hands. And but most of Israel's leg kicks were unanswered. Israel definitely outlanded Yoel. And the fact that Yoel said, he's a champion, he should come at me, you know, as long as you're able to land, as long as you're striking and landing strikes on an opponent, and with and they're unanswered, it's like, you know, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything extra, if, especially if it puts me at risk. So I would have liked to see Yoel be a little more aggressive for sure in that last round, especially in the last minute of that round. But he thought he was doing enough in that fight. I guess he thought he was doing enough in that fight, in that round, that he didn't have to take any more chances than he was already doing. I think if they were to fight again, it would be. I don't even know if they will fight again. I would say it's possible, like maybe at the end of this year, next year, if Israel can hold on to the belt. Well, I say that. What I really mean is, Yoel has to make a strong case now for a title shot. He has to solidify his placing in the rankings with devastating wins. At least, I would say at least two devastating wins to make a claim for another title shot. And I definitely think Costa, Paulo Costa, is next for the belt. I definitely think that. And, as far as like an early prediction, I think Costa's going to go forward and try to walk Izzy down. And I think he's definitely going to throw. I don't see him going with a similar game plan to Yoel at all. I see him trying to do what he did to Yoel and what he's done to other fighters. He's going to try to walk Izzy down and throw his heat. Now, some of the instincts that Israel has, like leaning back on shots or ducking real low on the outside of a strike or whatever, we definitely saw that in his fight with Yoel. So that could still potentially get him caught. But I can definitely see Israel winning that fight with Costa. And I think he would land a lot more, and I can definitely see that fight being a TKO in the later rounds. And if it were to, I know a lot of people that were upset about his fight with Yoel would be back on the Izzy, would be back on the Izzy bandwagon and would talk about just how great he is, and yet they didn't see, the skill that was displayed in this fight with Yoel, because there wasn't as much action as like in the co-main or something, you know. That's casuals for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you a better perspective on fights that are chess matches, If you watch this, thank you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, like button, and I'll see y'all later on.